What's up everyone, my name is Jet. NASCAR is giving Phoenix more practice. NASCAR also makes an update to its open exemption provisional. And you're not gonna like this, but the playoffs, they ain't changing for 2025. Before we jump into it, if you haven't already, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Comment down below your thoughts on any of the stories we will be discussing in this video. And yeah, we're back for part 2 of this. We uploaded a video earlier today. If you haven't already, make sure you check that out. There'll be a card on the top right of your screen. But if you did, then you're all up to date. We got 3 stories to talk about, all revolving around changes with NASCAR. Now, they held a little meeting with other reporters at an R&D center to kind of give some updates about the 2025 season. The first one revolves around Phoenix. Now, we know with the Phoenix race weekend in the spring, NASCAR will be introducing an option tire that they ran not only in North Wilkesboro, but also at Richmond last year. Because of them bringing a new option tire, NASCAR has elected to give Phoenix an extra 45-minute extended practice session with all cars on the racetrack, not split into 2 groups, all cars on the racetrack, 45 minutes, in order to get more accustomed to the new option tire. Of course, as we know, NASCAR will determine after the race at Phoenix whether or not they like the tire, and if they do so, then they will use that option tire for the championship race in November at Phoenix. Overall, no issue with this. Love more practice. We all love more practice. We hope that this will eventually be the norm, where we have an hour long or so practice session instead of 25 minutes. But again, baby steps. Next up, we have an update on NASCAR's open exemption provisional. This caused a bit of controversy. If you don't know what this rule is, simply put, if an international star, a major international star, wants to come in and compete in a NASCAR Cup race, that driver will automatically be locked into it. So for example, Castroneves, he is using the open exemption provisional with him and Trackhouse Racing, meaning that regardless of what happens in the duels, Castroneves will race in the Daytona 500. And if for some reason Castroneves were to miss to qualify, if he were to miss that based off of time, or he didn't finish high enough in the duels, NASCAR will even have a 41st entry specifically used for the open exemption provisional. Well, NASCAR has also expanded that today to not include international stars, but former full-time Cup drivers with elite credentials. So for example, if Jimmy Johnson, Mark Truex Jr., they want to compete in a Cup race, if they submit to NASCAR within a 90-day period time frame, they will automatically have a spot in the race. So again, this, in my eyes, I've already said my thoughts on it. I don't think it's necessary. It's like, listen, if they want to qualify, let them qualify for it. Let them earn it. On one side, I get it as a race promoter. If you have big names that are returning to the sport or want to try out in the sport, I get that in terms of TV ratings, in terms of attendance. You know, you want to get that, get as much publicity, get as much hype as possible. But at the same time, I don't like these hand-me-outs, these free handouts, you know. Regardless, even though, yes, we have had similar things like this with the championship provisional use in years past, this one is kind of just really out there, where you're kind of almost begging, like, please come and join us. Please come and say, look, we'll even have an open spot for you. So again, part of me doesn't really care for that, but at the same time, I'm also like, okay, this is just a very unnecessary rule. All right, now you've made it to the part of the video that I think all of us want to talk about. The playoffs. We already know. I'm not going to discuss too much of what caused us to get to this moment. I've already uploaded like a 30-minute video, my thoughts on the NASCAR playoffs. But there was a lot of people, including me, that felt that because of what went down at the end of 2024, that we would see something, some form of change for the 2025 season. Well, NASCAR confirmed that no, the playoff format will not change for 2025 and will in fact remain the same. However, NASCAR is looking at having a group, a working group, to possibly look into making changes for 2026. The reason why is that NASCAR says they don't want to make small changes every year and want to have a really good significant change that they can use for years to come, not something that they have to update every year or so. Now, NASCAR's explanation for this is that they said that there was a lot of emotion, a lot of high emotion at the moment when Joey Logano won the 2024 championship. And they said as time went on, you know, cooler heads prevailed. They felt that as though they didn't need to do anything. They didn't need to make any changes for 2025. But again, they did not rule out any discussions about possibly changing it for 2026. Now, John Probst of NASCAR, he gave some points on his thoughts on, and not only his thoughts, but also NASCAR's thoughts on the playoffs and where they stand. He said, you look at the positives, the race that we saw in Miami, Ryan Blaney winning himself a spot to Phoenix with his win at Martinsville, and that he said that the fan feedback has been one of three things. Either one, they love the playoffs and love the storylines with that. Two, they hate it and want it to completely go away. Or three, they like it but don't know what changes to make for the playoffs. Again, NASCAR said that they will discuss it with the working group as well as stakeholders for any potential changes in 2026. Now, that last part that I mentioned, the stakeholders, that tells me one thing. NBC, that their writing is all over this. I get that as a network, you know, you have the playoffs, the championship, you have something to promote. But again, if I'm NBC, I'm looking at the ratings. You're losing ratings every single year. The last time you had an uptick in the championship race was 2021, and that's because of COVID. Before then was 2015, and that's only because it was on cable in 2014. You never had a legit, true increase in the championship ratings ever. So what is the purpose of still continuing this sort of mindset that, oh, we need to have a playoffs. NASCAR needs to have a playoffs. Again, I'm not going to discuss with it, go in too deep with it. I already have a video discussing my full thoughts on it. But the stakeholders part tells me that, okay, it's not just NASCAR we have to look at. We also got to look at NBC, especially when you consider the fact that, you know, Fox, they got the Daytona 500. Prime and TNT, well, TNT mainly has got the in-season tournament, but Prime, they also have like sort of qualifying for the in-season tournament. NBC wants to have something, you know, yeah, they got, you know, the Daytona fall race, they have this other 500, but they really want to have that one big thing that they can promote, which is obviously the playoffs and the championship. John Probst pointing to, now let's go back to John Probst and the points he made. Now he pointed at what happened in Miami and what happened at Martinsville as major pluses. Here's my thought process on that. That would have happened, I think, regardless, with or without the playoffs. What we saw in Miami, I think, would have happened regardless, because Miami is a great racetrack, great racing. I think what NASCAR, their mindset is that all these great moments happen because of playoffs, only because of the playoffs. And while that may be true to an extent, like for example, when Ross Chastain rode the wall, yes, he did that because of the playoffs. If there was no playoffs, he definitely would not have done that. But I feel like NASCAR is throwing all their eggs into the basket by saying that anything big that happens, oh, it's because of playoffs. Oh, a great race in Miami, oh, that's because of playoffs. Ryan Blaney making that charge in Martinsville, that's because of playoffs. Which I think, no, I think it may have a small impact in it or a small influence in it, but I don't think it's the only reason. Ryan Blaney won at Martinsville because he also had a fast car. He just had a better car, better tires than everyone else. Tyler Reddick made that amazing move on the final lap at Homestead because he went to the outside lane and Blaney just gave him the outside lane and Reddick was able to make that pass. I think if we were under the regular season format, if we were under a full season format, it still would have happened. So I don't like this narrative that NASCAR is trying to push by saying everything that happened, all the exciting moments that happened is strictly because of playoffs. And I love how he says this, the fan feedback is either one of three things as if it's equal. It's like, oh, some like it, you know, they love it. Some like it but don't know what to change, and some don't like it at all. I can tell you something, John Probst, NASCAR, when you say that and also say at the heat of the moment, you know, emotion running high, this is an issue that didn't conspire in about a week or in a year. This is something that has been on the minds of NASCAR fans for years. And I would argue since the beginning of 2014 when they went to this elimination format. NASCAR's fans' feelings have been that they do not like this. The overwhelming majority, I can tell you, if you were to put up a poll right now, do you like the playoffs? Yes or no? Or do you like, or even a maybe? I can tell you there'll be a resounding no. Majority of the people will say no, we do not like the playoffs or we do not like having eliminations. I just really would love to know NASCAR's mindset with this. 2026, if you don't want to change anything for 2025, fine. I get it. You want to take your time. Fine. But 2026, something has to be done. And the thing is, if you were to ask NASCAR fans, if you were to make any tweaks to the playoff format and they had to keep eliminations, I can tell you that majority of the fans would probably agree on two things. Number one, get rid of the winning you're in. And number two, get rid of a championship one race shootout. I can guarantee you that majority, if not all of NASCAR fans can agree that those two things need to be outlawed. They need to be gone. You want to keep the eliminations? Fine. You want to keep the 4-race fight for the championship? Fine. but get rid of the win in you're in and get rid of the one race shootout. The fact that NASCAR didn't even consider doing that is kind of shocking and scary on one side, because my mindset after what happened in 2024 when Logano, the 10th best driver who came into the playoffs, probably 15th on the grid, him winning the championship after he was garbage all year long, that it didn't conspire any type of change boggles my mind. It happened with Matt Kenseth. What the year he had, bam, we changed it for 2004. I mean, and the fact that nothing happened after what we saw at the end of last year is very shocking. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section down below on any of the 3 stories we discussed. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. As always, until next time, my name is Jet from MDK. Thanks for watching.